when consumers, like the mass audience, were asked what would they like to do in a metaverse, there were a really less portion of people who said gaming, or who said they would like to spend time in a sci-fi world, but more of them really wanted to be in a more familiar environment, do sort of more serious familiar activities like learning, like Mark said, to attend events, do networking.
My name is Ronit, and with Gaurav, my co-host, we are going to do episode, was it 25 of FinTech and Web3 Founders? Gosh, time has flown since we started this late last year. We have today two guests, Megha and Marc, who are going to talk about the metaverse and also their company, Metabloqs. We're a very interesting time in both the metaverse and particularly Metabloqs, and we're going to hear over the next half an hour all about what this new virtual space is about. Megha, Marc, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry, I think I merged your names to create some kind of like Brangelina or whatever. So Megha, Marc is what it's going to be from now on. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
M&M, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronit, and it's such a pleasure to be here.
Maybe for the audience, you can share with us where are you zooming in from today? Because it looks like you're on some Caribbean coastline.
So both of us are in Switzerland, and Marc is in Zurich, and I'm currently in Lucerne.
Nice. So that could be a lake behind you.
Yes.
Actually, it is, isn't it? It's like lake and mountains. But Megha and Marc, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your background, maybe starting with Megha, and walk us to the journey that's taken you to setting up Metabloqs.
So Ronit, I started my career in the IT industry, worked there a couple of years, and then I moved into project management, especially in the education sector, the tertiary education sector. Then I moved to Switzerland, and I was together with Marc. We were working with a networking association called the Swiss Association of MBAs, where we network, the Ivy League alumni based in Zurich and all over Switzerland. And yeah, that's, I would say, and that's how we actually met. That's how we actually started, COVID forced us actually to be innovative, to go out of the border, to how to network, how to, make this professional networking and events more interesting in the virtual world. And then we added some education because they were more interested in continual education as well. And yeah, that's how we evolved our, thoughts, ideas into testing the concept out with, sort of like, I think 2000 plus C-level executives here in Switzerland. And yeah, that's, I would say, my background, but yeah, Marc could say more.
Yeah, you said already most important things. So I'm a lawyer, did then an MBA, and I'm the president of this association, as you mentioned, this networking association, and we want to create like meaningful content and also education. And in Corona, we could not do it in person. So in general, I did an MBA in the US and paid more than 80,000. I thought, okay, that there should be a cheaper way of doing this, because in the UK and in Switzerland, it's much cheaper to do a master degree. So I started from this, that you could stay in India and do like a master degree in Switzerland or in Germany and get the degree, stay at home, save money, and also like for events. So it's also sometimes cool to have join an event virtually, and we then made every event now hybrid. And we thought also for online education, it should be more fun if you can play also a bit game, if it's more interactive, and if the, like friends suggestions are coming, because like now we are using Zoom, so you don't know, like there's no interaction after this call. I mean, if you organize an event with Zoom, so we thought, okay, it would be cool if you are forced to then talk with someone who have similar interests, and then Megha created the matching algorithm with similar, where people are suggested with similar interests and so on. yeah, that this is how it evolved, and we created also a 3D world with games, and then made the whole Metaverse.
Megha, what is Metabloqs?
So, Ronit, when we think about metaverses in the current market, whatever has been, the early movers and also the ones who are upcoming, we observe that most of them look like games and, are set in some kind of Genesis or fantasy or sci-fi world, which is quite interesting actually for, someone to escape the realities and go into it. But studies actually show, like the recent one also came out where McKinsey stated that when consumers, like the mass audience, were asked what would they like to do in a metaverse, there were a really less portion of people who said gaming, or who said they would like to spend time in a sci-fi world, but more of them really wanted to be in a more familiar environment, do sort of more serious familiar activities like learning, like Mark said, to attend events, do networking. So that's why Metabloqs, we came with the metaverse, with practical aspirations. So me and Mark, we sat down together, also with our experiences, and just asked ourselves what types of interactions and activities sort of will attract and retain users, and not just like one sector of gaming, but when we talk about mass adoption of metaverses, we thought who should be there in the metaverse. And being there with our backgrounds for 3D hybrid events, corporates, and education, which we actually tested out the concept with so many companies like EY, AWS, Credit Suisse, and so on, PwC, and also co-hosted their events and learned from their great feedbacks. We actually then thought that we believe that there is a space and a need for more realistic metaverse experience. One metaverse, that sort of is based on real geographical locations that have familiar activities like how we do it in normal lives, and genuine human connections rather than, people hiding behind their fake, anonymous profiles. So that's what Metabloqs is all about. We are creating realistic metaverse based on real activities where we bring in real-time corporates, banks, shopping experience to our users.
So just to level set here for the audience and pause. So your Metabloqs is you're building a virtual land, a virtual experience in the metaverse, and it's realistic. It's based on avatars that look like how we look in the quote unquote real physical world, and you're aiming at, to some extent, the corporate space. And we'll come back to all of that in a second, but just a level set for the audience. What is the metaverse? I'll give you my understanding, and then I'd love the two of you to jump in and say, So the metaverse is the internet. It's a shared virtual space. It's immersive and persistent, i.e. we live inside it, and it's crucially three-dimensional. And we access the metaverse in multiple ways. So a lot of people think metaverse is simply 3D headsets. We access the metaverse through AR or VR or even computer screens or mobile phones. Now that's how I think about the metaverse. What did I get wrong? What did I get right? And your visual metaverse, how does it fit into that? And specifically for Metabloqs, how do you envisage access? Is it the computer? Is it the phone? Do I need to have some super expensive Apple or Google glasses? Over to you guys.
Maybe you could.
Yes, so I mean, we thought about all of this, like if it's like augmented reality that you're in the real world and then you see things, or if it's like full virtual reality that you need glasses, and I think we are not yet there. So we will make it also like VR compatible and also add augmented reality into it. But we want to be inclusive. That's why we want to be the trusted and also the inclusive metaverse, so that even people who cannot afford like the most fancy easiest tool, laptop and mobile phone, that everybody can, if he has access to a basic mobile phone, who has access to internet, he can be part of the metaverse. So this is the reasoning behind it, and also for mass adoption. So you cannot, right now these Google Gloves are $500 or more, and this is too expensive. So it has to be maximum maybe $50, otherwise, yeah, not everybody will use it. That's a bit the reasoning behind.
And Metabloqs, what do you see the main use cases being? We've talked before, Marc, Megha, about corporates, about universities. Tell the audience about where in the next 6, 12, 18 months, where do you see the main use cases being for Metabloqs?
So in terms of the use cases, definitely we came across, from the paths of events and education, and we see quite a lot of use cases in that sort. But not just used to that, because, companies, for example, can have like an extended form of customer relationship based on that. People can just have it as a social or professional interaction platform where they could come and have meetings or try to find, business partners, but also for just normal, young people to hang around, go on a date, watch concerts together, and, everything, the possibilities are huge, but definitely something regarded to multiple users, because in one sense, it's an immersive experience where companies can, give or offer so much more in terms of the content and the quality and immersiveness of it. But on the other hand, it's also the place where the same content, you can watch it on a Netflix or a TV, but it makes a very different sense when you in, London, Ronit, and I in Switzerland can actually enjoy a movie together or a concert together and interact and, share our opinions, and then join the community that's, like the fans of a Coldplay concert, for example, So that's what it offers. Like, the opportunities and use cases are abundant, but we would really like to also not just, motivate people to go only for, digital presence, what we are seeing right now, but to much more transactional experiences where businesses can come in and do real businesses. So we already have 2 banks who have signed up for, this journey together with us. And at first, definitely the first move is to go digital, to sort of be digital presence in the metaverse, but they are doing much more, like, coming up with a digital treasury, having like a secret advisory room for its clients, and so many more. So I think that's where the vision would go for us, to bring real, use cases in terms of transactions happening in the metaverse.
You mentioned concerts and dating and banks, and I understand the end bit of that, but I think I need to bring Gaurav into the conversation because he can shed more light to the earlier experiences, right, Gaurav?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Absolutely. Thanks, Ronit. I mean, these use cases seem extremely vast, because as you go down each piece, from education to banking to media rights management to offering services on alternative levels of chains or blockchains or currency, right? Each one has its own sort of specialized roadmap that you have to cater to and service to, not only for the community that's engaging your clients, which are these banks and educational institutions, but also the wider community. It's a massive undertaking. So what I'd love to understand is, how do you benchmark the availability from your approach, where you say, here are the tools from Metabloqs you can build, and these are the sort of rules and governance of what you can build and what you can offer and what you can't offer? Is there sort of it's free to build, so I can build whatever I want, or is there a structure that says I can't build over 50 stories, or I have to build a certain number of rooms? How do you get into the governance of building in Metabloqs? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So we definitely thought of it when we are talking about, and also when we say we want to be the trusted metaverse, where all of these happens together. We definitely, one of the most important point was the governance in terms of, setting up sort of like a rule, or let's not say rule, but like sort of like common understanding of, what should and should not be in the metaverse. And that's why we have put together a team that would actually look into, introducing in each field of, if someone is buying land, for example, what are the things that makes the environment better and fair in terms of that. For example, we hear right now a lot of online harassments, and when it comes to events, when it comes to concerts, when we are mixing a lot of different sorts of or sets of people together. So we are in collaboration with Amnesty International, actually, to, I think, come up with one of the first set of code of conduct for metaverses, when they also help us in terms of, we are together collaboratively thinking of how can we, prevent lots of trolling and fake news and cyberbullying that comes with anonymous accounts and bots, for example, to encourage people to come up with their real identities, so that, it's and taking care of their, data privacy. So yeah, but when we think of, when we encourage real identities, we can create a community culture in Metabloqs, which is more conducive and constructive. And also, yeah, that's why we are also collaborating with them and also incentivizing people with this model of trust to token. That incentivize people to, be open, to be transparent, so that, business transactions happen, social transactions happen in a safer way.
And here we are maybe not like fully decentralized, because we want to take ownership and responsibility and make sure that everything that we are aware and our best effort, we make sure that they comply with all laws, and yeah, that there's no bad or harm to anybody, and yeah, take care of that.
It's very interesting. Yeah. So thank you for walking through that, because governance, if it's not completely decentralized from a governance point of view, is very interesting, because then at least you can perhaps to some degree, without being controlling, have a qualitative review of maybe the people who are participating in that ecosystem, or the intentions that they have for the ecosystem. I guess it's a learning process. Moving away from governance for one second, I'd love to understand the technology a little bit more. And Ronit touched very much on the baseline of the interaction of how the technology works, device and level. Can you tell us more about what you're actually using in terms of code and platform? Because when you look at a system as ambitious as what you're trying to build, there's a multitude of people that you need to build this, to maintain this, to progressively update this, right? Or provide capacity for people to build on your platform. And then you got to talk about, what blockchain you're using for the interactions, or what non-blockchain technology uses. Can you talk to us about how you've approached the baseline of building Metabloqs as an activity, what chains you're using, why you're using them, and what your thoughts are in terms of just the technology aspects of how you're approaching this ambitious.
Sure. So maybe I could first move you through the technical aspects in terms of the codes, what kind of technical platforms we're using, and then maybe Mark could enlighten us in terms of the blockchain. Sure. So Metabloqs is built on Unity as a core platform. Given that it's one of the most acceptable ones. There are a lot of developers who are very comfortable in terms of making quality products, and already very mature established libraries. So that's why we chose to use Unity. And in terms of scaling, yes, it's massive. And when we started versus already in 3 months, the requirements of with every aspect, people in DevOps, like setting up the servers because it's multiplayer, people in terms of development, the 3D artists, the designers, So yeah, it's a massive team. And then we are very fortunate to have found really good strategic partners in terms of that, who we be incentivized and also like growing together as well. And, they have a huge network of collaborators, individual developers as well. So I think we really invested in building the community of developers who can come together and, when they can, they could really, so we have like set of core team, but we also have like set of people who can really plug in when we want to scale. So we already have like strategic partnerships done in like some people like builders, for example, consultants who could really not just help us in building our core platform, but also to go one step ahead and, also help our customers, for example, the banks who are coming, the corporates who are coming, to guide them through this whole process. So definitely that's the thing. But I think Marc can also contribute here in terms of the blockchain that we're using.
Thank you.
Yes, we have chosen Zinfin blockchain. It's a hybrid blockchain, so-called delegated proof of stake consensus mechanism, and so they have very low fees. That's very good for transaction and also very fast, and so also eco-friendly. So this is also very important for us. And last but not least, so Zinfin is also the blockchain for supply chain and trade finance. This is how, so first of all, it's a perfect fit for us, as we want to be the metaverse for corporates, and this is how we came to know. I was working as a leading compliance department for trade compliance and whole credit compliance. Then I saw that the craziness of documentation, and nothing is digitized. So I thought here is really a fantastic use case for blockchain, and then I came across something.
That's amazing. I think, looking at, the undertaking of this project, I have to also ask, what's the population of Metabloqs today?
So we have 300,000 plus registered users right now, and we achieved that in less than 4 months. So we actually started, our website was live in I think February end, and then we have already till now then gained 300,000 plus registered users who are actively waiting for us to launch.
And now you're creating a world where initially, and again, Ronit touched on this earlier to a degree about utility and use cases of what you're doing, right? But I think you're a company that's for profit. You're building several revenue lines that you will get from corporates and from users, right? And it's a very tricky thing now in doing any business, especially with technology, is building product or your product roadmap, right? What do you focus on that people actually want to use, that's either solving a problem people want to use? Now, we've seen a massive fluctuation come through use cases with things like NFTs, buying land, tokenization, securitization. Some use cases have stuck very well from an enterprise level, and some use cases moving from businesses to consumers have fluctuated from extreme highs to extreme lows very quickly as well, in short times, right? Short bursts. What are you guys focusing on as product roadmap? Are you going to be serving corporates to start with? Are you serving users to start with? It's a bit of a conundrum. So how are you approaching that scenario? Because you're creating a brand new world.
Yeah.
And so without thinking that, you have a God complex where you're like, oh, I can build anything. You over there, I will build a mountain there, and I will crush your 20-story building, and I will build an oasis instead and plant a tree for every pixel that's there, these sorts of initiatives. What are you doing with that approach? I'm very curious to hear.
So we actually focused on bringing in corporates, and we talk about corporates, it's about banks, it's about consulting companies, it's about, any sort of retail markets, or so shopping experiences, education and universities. So we first, that's why we focus on corporates, bringing first the corporates, but definitely simultaneously also, sort of collaborating with trade shows, with companies such as concerts, for events, which could also bring in users as well. So sort of, because we are a platform, we cannot just build one, right? There has to be sort of a two-sided balance in terms of that. So definitely the heavy focus is definitely first to bring in corporates and clients that they have something to offer in our metaverse, but simultaneously, whom are they building for? So that's why we're also developing activities, engagements, experiences, because, if you don't have experiences, users might come once, but then it's over. They will see it after some point, and then that's over. So how do you build experiences? So that's what the company is right now. Also, a lot of research, a lot of testing is going on that.
Before I hand back to Ronit, just because I want to be cautious of time, and it flies by so quickly, we could talk for an hour on this easily and then some. I want to try and focus just for our audience to be able to walk alongside with you through this journey. Let's take an example of a bank. A bank comes to you and wants to build a bank in your ecosystem, which is Metabloqs. Literally take us through the journey of what they do. They buy land, they do construction, they pay with X, they build revenue drivers here. You get X percentage of their revenue a year, or they can do advertising. Take us through what that looks like, if you don't mind.
Sure. Mark, would you like to say it, or?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is our bank, where we have a bank account. So it's great that they are aware of our blockchain business. So that it was challenging, but after half a year we got onboarded. So it's great. So I mean, we contacted them. So usually the process is they buy land, and in this case here, because they were the first ones, so we do the whole building of houses and so on for free. But this would be also a service that they can get from our 3D developers and design team. So we have a design team who help them like to make a tailor-made house. So we want that it's for them, when you buy land, that it's easy for you yourself to make a house or an office. Because when you go in the sandbox, the Decentraland and other in general, like also Roblox, it's not so easy to make something nice. And we want that everybody, even if you're not a designer or developer, that you can make something that looks okay or even good. So this what we were building, that it's an easy tool to handle, and then they could do this, or they go with the fancy solution of us, and then they can bring in their idea. So we usually talk with their marketing, or with here directly we talked with the CEO and the board. So we pitched it in front of the board, so they could also bring in their strategy, as the board is responsible for the strategy. So they were even thinking, we have a football game, it would be cool to have the bank also giving it for their young or potential millennials clients, so that they are a fancy cool bank, and so they can bring in their idea. So and then we can create like tools or applications for them, like a pension planning, or like they wanted, for example, a vault where they can where you can store digital assets in it, and also for the kids. So if you come with your family to the bank, so during the boarding talk with the banker, so the kids could draw a painting, and then this could then be made into an NFT and then sold. So these kind of discussions we have. So and the sky is the limit. So we're very open. And try to make everything for our clients. So yeah.
Wow, so it really is unlimited opportunity that you're trying to create. It just depends on what works and doesn't work. Ronit, I mean, I was gonna get into things like competition and everything else, and you just saw. I don't know if you. To me right now, the metaverse is and the competition in the metaverse is likening to that picture which they compared to the Hubble telescope and James Webb, right? Where you see so many planets and you see so many things, and each one is their own universe. I feel like metaverse is like that, and we could have another conversation about competition and everything else, but I'm going to hand it back to you, otherwise I'm going to get carried away with asking so much, because such a big topic. So thank you guys very much. That was very, very, very helpful. Back to you, Ronit.
Maybe just to wrap up and to continue the theme that Gaura's mentioned, not competition, but maybe the ecosystem or the universe. So there's going to be a Metabloqs metaverse. There's two questions. One is, what's the ecosystem around it? As in, will I be using the Metabloqs metaverse or something, and then another metaverse or something else? Or how does it work? Or is it actually, I'm accessing a corporate site or a university and I don't really know it's Metabloq? So one is just sort of describe how this kind of ecosystem or environment looks. And secondly, related to that, talk us the next steps very specifically on Metabloqs. As in, you've got this long list of registered potential users. What are sort of the next steps of going live? Is the tech all ready? Is it literally a question of pressing a button from a marketing perspective? What are the rollouts? What are the key dates? How many users do we have at year end or next year? Or just walk us through that journey. So one is, what does the landscape look like? And one is your journey.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So when we talk about a metaverse, and as you rightly said, it's a universe that we're trying to set up, right? So we really think that instead of separating, the university part with the corporate part or with the entertainment part or so on, we want to bring an entire world together in terms of how it is right now, that you walk into a bank, but eventually you can come out and go into a store as well. But the experience is different. When you go into a bank, it's sort of corporate feel, more professional, but when you go to a shopping place, it's going to be totally different. This is what we want to bring in. And because that has so much advantage in terms of people, you could think that we are zoning the districts right now in terms of what should be the art district, the education district, the events district, and so on. But eventually, if you visualize it, everything comes under one, world together. So there's not going to be like separate different units that you come in, just go. You can literally walk around if you want to go from one bank to a shopping center, but there's also a shortcut that's, because being a metaverse, you can actually teleport from one place to another.
Sure. But I turn on initially I'll be accessing it through my computer, my laptop, so I turn on my laptop, my desktop computer, and how do I get to Metabloqs? If I assume I don't know about you already, or will I already know about you because of push marketing? How do I, this is like a website, and then it's a 3D website. What the very practicals?
Yeah, so you could log on to www.metabloqs.com, and then there you will be, guided through different visuals of how you could enter it. So once you enter it, you could log in as a guest if you want to just freely move, or you could also register yourself. And if you are a registered user already, that's even easy. You have a username and a password, and then you could enter. Then it takes you to our virtual world, which is Paris right now for the first phase. So it's the Meta Paris. So in the beginning, it's going to be the PC build. So it's both available as Mac as well as Microsoft Windows PC. But later on, very quickly, we are going to also evolve into the web version as well. And later on, it's going to be also, sort of compatible with AR, VR. We are simultaneously working on it as well as the goals, but the beta phase will be launched, just with the PC build and the web version. And then we are going to also provide, of course, the app. For mass adoption, it's like whoever wants to, log in through any sort of means, they should be allowed to do so.
So right now, is it if I log on to that website, what do I see?
So as of now, we have not launched, but from August 2nd, you will be able to log in and then click a button called Explore, to be very specific. And then it takes you to your individualized dashboard where you could find, different activities that are happening. You could explore the metaverse. You could explore the entire map of, Paris. If you're interested in buying land. You will be having a marketplace and football games and so on.
So August the 2nd, when I log on, there's a virtual land, there's a digital twin, if you like, of Paris. I'm exploring. And what can I do in that? Like everything I can do in Paris and worse?
Yeah, technically, but let me be, you know, sort of more specific on what you could do is sort of, you know, because it is made or based on real cities, and Paris being one of the most happening cities, you could definitely explore the streets, take in the ambience of the square, which we are first introducing is the Eiffel Tower and, you know, the 7th Avenue of Paris. And then there will be event space that you could already go and explore. And also after some point, also organize yourselves from events for free in the beta testing phase as well. We have a football game that you could walk into the stadium and start playing football games. We have in the later time, you know, in December, car expos, air shows, you know, a lot lining up, but definitely just in the beginning, in the coming months, you know, we have partnered up with different new partners, land buyers, so you could land buy, explore. Yeah, so, and also you could do private meetings, you know, go on a date, you know, so many possibilities, you know, drive a car around, take a boat ride in the Seine River. Yeah.
Are you guys going to allow paparazzi in Metabloqs?
Good idea.
I can see all sorts of interesting topics cropping up, but yeah, very interesting. Looking forward to it.
So 2nd of August, Paris goes live, and then there's others probably at some point in the future may follow. Thank you, Megha. Thank you, Marc, so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure being able to share our project.
And we'll be watching and tracking with interest.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good day.